on CJ's Knits, we are going to discuss the first 20 pages of the Model 560's manual. Let's hit the ground running with a tutorial of what these pieces are. We have our curl cord socket, stitch dial, handle, release lever, weaving. Where's this weaving thing? Oh, here's the weaving yarn holder. F is a weaving knob, so that would be this knob here. G is a weaving brush. H is the tuck lever, so that would be these ones. I is our yarn feeder. J is our cam lever. K is an arm nut, so that would be these things. And L is our Russell levers. This is our knit contour. It has its own manual. We will go on a video all about that on another day. This is our pattern panel. We have a card cover, pattern width indicator, pattern dial. We have a card slit, card dial. F is our card button, so that does the that chooses the direction the card feeds. This indicates the card feeds. H is our inspection button, and I are our pattern buttons 1 through 6. One continuous question we always come up with is, what tension dial setting do we use? It says right here, cotton or nylon thread on page 8, tension 6 or 7. Thin yarn, which is a 2-ply, tensions 4 to 5. A medium 4-ply yarn is tension 3, and your thick yarn is tension 1 to 2. So tension 1 and 2 is the loosest, tension 7 is the tightest. Here we have our needle positions. Needle position A, needles do not knit. Position B, the needles knit in stockinette and stitch pattern. C, the needles knit in stockinette only. And D, the needles do not knit with the Russell levers at 1, and the needles are knit back to position B with the Russell levers at 2. This is your stitch dial. F, knit in or ferrule. L is punch lace, not real lace, faux lace. This is not lace. W is for weaving. SJ is for slip, or J for double jacquard. You need to use your yarn changer and a ribber. O is stockinette. C, circular. E, English rib. Again, you need your ribber for this one. And T is for tuck. Page 10, yarn type and your stitch dial. The tension on your stitch dial on your carriage. It says for cotton thread, tensions 2 to 3. Thin yarn, they call it 2-ply, 2 to 3. Summer yarn, 3 to 4. Light yarn, 3 to 5. Medium yarn, 4 to 6. Thick yarn, 6 to 9. Mohair every second needle. And 6 to 9 for very thick yarn. Be careful with these. They do not mean to use sport weight. a SK560 is not a bulky machine. It is only 4.5 millimeters. So please do not try to use Canadian or American 4-ply, which is sport weight. When they talk 4-ply, they're talking UK sport weight, which is our sock yarn. Okay? I want you to be very careful with that. Now it's time to talk about casting on. The most common cast on for the SK560 is called the weaved cast on. You put your sinker plate in weaving. Your tension is on 5. You bring out your needles. We're just going to do a simple example. So we have needles in D position and needles in A position. I'm going to try and get closer. Carriage is set at 5 for the tension. We load the yarn into section 1 by opening the door and letting it in. We lay the yarn on top of the needles. Hold on to the yarn. And we knit across. As you can see, it is knit. For this method of knitting, you can avoid using your claw weights at this time, and you can knit up to 10 rows before you need your claw weights. Let me demonstrate. Ten rows, no claw weights, everything is knit. Now I will add claw weights only to the ends of the bed. Now I can turn off the weaving knobs, so up, hang on, up, and up there, and now we can knit across, and as you can see, it knits. We will knit a couple more rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how easy the weaved cast on is. So what's another popular cast on? Well, we have the traditional Ewrap. We're just going counterclockwise around the needles. Let me focus in for you. Okay. So we go around and around and around and around. Over, under, over, under, over, under. Make sense? One more time. And now we put it into the carriage. Doors open. Hang on. We've got tangles here. Okay. Doors open. Into the carriage. Close the door. You want to hold it. I got it. One of the things that does happen is this yarn can get caught in these wheels. So if you hold it underneath while you knit across, just until the wheels get onto the needles, you'll have a lot easier time. Here we go. And there they're knit. We're going to knit across. As you can see, some of it did not knit. That does happen. If you find that happens often, put down your weaving knobs. I always suggest doing a cast on with waste yarn and then doing a second cast on with your main yarn to prevent this. Okay? Another amazing cast on is called the double Ewrap. For the double Ewrap, you put a weight on your yarn, go around the first. It's going to be a little tricky here. Onto the second, into the loop of the second, or the needle butt there, and pull it back a little ways. This makes a very secure and finished cast on, which I use for hand-tooled ribbing on socks, mittens, the bottoms of sweaters, cuffs, all of that stuff. I'm going to do an overview. Here we go again. Over 2, through 1. Over 2, through 1. Over 2, through 1. I will finish this row and then I'll show you how it finishes. Alright. Finishing the last ones. Through it, and then through it, into the sinker plate. Now, some of these might be back too far, so we will hold it down and move them forward. Again, there's no weights on this yet. Okay, weaving knobs down, hanging on to the bottom here just so that it doesn't get caught. I'm gonna just tighten up my tension here. And there you go. We're going to do a couple of rows. Not bad if you're doing a dishcloth, for instance, for a first project. Here's a better view. Going to knit a couple more rows. Okay. Nice and easy. So that was the double Ewrap. Is there another cast on? Yes, there is. There's one called a Latch tool cast on. I will bring in a second color of yarn and I will show you how that one is done. So what is a latch tool cast on? It's actually one of the first cast-ons most people are taught. I'm going to do my best to teach it to you today. We start with a circle. Okay, so we make a little loop, put it on our latch tool, take a clip, put it on the tail end of this yarn. Okay, you're gonna have to forgive me for I'm doing this totally backwards. So we have our latch tool through the first two needles. We're putting the yarn tail into there. I guess I say gazinta a lot, but this is a latch tool cast on. It is one of the tightest cast-ons that we have. Okay, actually the Ewrap can get pretty tight. But this one, the machines tend to really grumble about. You're not going to wreck your machine as long as you are gentle. And you remember that you are not a prison guard, you are a tour guide. It is important that you are very careful how you do these cast-ons and the amount of tension on your yarn when doing these cast-ons. So here we are, in the loop, through the loop, in the hook, through the loop, in the hook, through the loop, hook and loop. Now for this last one, you want to go under, put it on the hook, and now it's on the needle. Okay, we're going to push these down. Now I'm going to swap out the pink yarn with the white yarn. I still have my weaving brushes down. I'm still being very careful. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Again, very tight, very neat, very consistent cast on. Now, how do we cast off? There are just as many cast offs as there are cast ons. The most common cast off is actually to cast off on waste yarn and then use a crochet hook to finish your cast off. I don't normally do that as per se. I'll put it on waste yarn and then I will cast off the waste yarn using a latch tool. So let me demonstrate to you how to do a latch tool cast off. The first step before I do a latch tool cast off is I make sure I have loose tension. So I will use tension 10 on my carriage. I will knit across. I'm going to turn off the weaving knob. This makes for extremely long loops. I am then going to move my needles forward. With my needles all forward, I'm going to remove the weight. Including the clip. I'm going to snip my white yarn Now, I'm going to put the first loop opposite of the carriage into my latch tool, and I'm just going to keep pulling them through as I pull them off their needles. Let me show you a close-up. Here we go. Okay. On the hook, through. On the hook, through. Now that one I accidentally pulled off. I'm just going to wait a second. I'm going to save it here. Okay. On the hook, over. On the hook, over. Okay, pretty clear. So you can see that the latch tool cast off is pretty strong. And this is the latch tool cast on. Slightly different effect. But again, they're for stronger projects that you don't want any play in. What is another popular cast off? That would be the gate peg cast off or bind off. How you do the gate peg bind off. Remove your yarn from its carriage. Grab your single prong latch tool. No, sorry, it's not a latch tool. Single prong transfer tool. You're going to cast off that one. Now, you're going to grab this one, put it on this one, transfer them both back to that one, and go through. Now sometimes, a lot of times, it doesn't cast off right away. Close the latch all the way through. Yes, you're going to do this across the whole thing. Through, over, over. I'll show you a little bit closer. Here we go. You're going behind the gate peg. Now I forgot to transfer that one, so I have to go all the way over to here and pretend that I transferred it over here. This one's going to be a little bit tricky. So that one goes behind a little bit, behind the latch, to that one, back to this one, through. Grab this one, onto that one, onto this one, back to this one, and through. This one, onto this one, back to this one, and through. Now, if you don't want to do it fancy dancy dancy, then what you can do is you can just go this way. This is what I call gate peg my way, because I don't have time to do the back and forth and back and forth. And I'll show you the difference between the two when we get it off the machine. And you can make up your own mind which method of gate peg bind off you would like to use. So how do we take the gate peg bind off? Remove your weights. Push all the needles back. And lift. I'm going to pull this through. Okay. So what's so fancy about it? All right. That's a nice fancy finish. So this is where we did the transfers back and forth. And this is where I did it the lazy way. I usually do this method for underarms where nobody's going to see it anyway. And then for the end stitches, I did it the right way again. So the back and forth method. You can see it looks a lot like the double Ewrap and the latch tool cast on. There's your latch tool cast on. Okay. I think that's actually it for the cast-offs and cast-ons. Next up, we'll be working our way through the next couple pages of the manual. I've already gone over how to thread the machine, so I'm not too worried about that. So I guess we start on reading a Mylar and patterning. In the next episode is Mylar, knitting in, and the single motif.